The 8-Day Blackout. Hello and welcome to Sober Living Snippets, where we live alcohol-free so we can heal our relationships, feel youthful again, and ditch regret, shame, and any other negative emotion that's haunting us. Hi, gals. Becca here, and I have a snippet for you. You know what? It occurred to me that there are a lot of listeners that probably don't know my story because I was so naive when I started this show in the March of 2023, that's 20 months ago, that I think it was the second or the third, I don't know, first, second, or third episode, I told my story. And then, ever since then, I've been just like, oh, well, they all know my story now because I told them. But how many of you go back and listen to podcasts that I did in March of 2020? You get my point, right? So somebody recently pointed that out to me. So I'm going to tell you my story. Of course, it is in my book. And if you're a member of my free community, the Sober Living community, all you got to do is go in there and then you get a free copy of my book and my story's in there. But I just want to tell you the story of what happened, the turning point for me after drinking from basically age 15. And on Monday, I'm going to share with you exactly how I got sober. So today we'll talk about my fall, my horrible, humiliating fall from grace. But on Monday, I'll walk you through exactly how I discovered the simplest and most elegant way to not only get sober, but sober and happy. I'm going to share that with you in detail. I got sober when I was 52. What happened when I was 52? That was in the fall of 2018. What happened? What happened? So I had tried everything. AA, I went to my first AA meeting when I was, 19, I think. And on and off, I was in and out of AA. I think I stopped altogether in my early 30s. Psych ward, counselors, detox, treatment, another counselor, on and on, right? All of that. What happened to end it all in 2018 when I was 52? Well, if we back up a couple of months, in the spring of 2018, my older sister, who was 54, overdosed and died. She was an addict, and she overdosed on fentanyl and died. I reacted to that by going, well, what can you expect, right? That's what I said out loud. I thought I was fine. But then I didn't put two and two together. I didn't think to myself, oh, this is horrible. I'm going to drink more because that's so horrible. But my drinking got so much worse after that. That was in the spring, in April. And I started drinking more and more and more. And I'm a college professor. So in May, the school year ends for college where I live. And I'm off May, June, July, and August, basically off work. And then we go back after Labor Day. So for those 4 months, I drank and drank and drank more and more and more. And when Labor Day hit, I was skinny and sickly, and I'd basically been drunk for the entire 4 months, right through the spring and summer. And then I remember feeling, oh my God, so sick. And I went back to work after Labor Day, and every single day of work that fall was agony. Because I wasn't drinking at work, but I would drink every moment not at work. And that means I was sick at work. I was so sick at work. And I would drink the weekends away and then somehow pull it together and get myself to work on Monday until later in the fall when Thanksgiving arrived. And I picked up my usual bottle of vodka on my way home from work to go home for the Thanksgiving weekend. And when I got home that night, I started drinking it, and I went into a blackout, which I did practically every time I drank. I would go into blackout almost within the first hour. And I went into a blackout, and the next thing I remember, it was 8 days later. So I have no memory. If you've ever had a blackout, Most people do not black out for longer than the last couple of hours before bed. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't remember going to bed last night. When you might have been in blackout while still walking and talking for a couple of hours the night before or something, and maybe you phoned somebody or, blackout, right? But I went into a blackout and stayed there for 8 days. I didn't even know that was possible. Apparently, the way that's possible is that I was passing out for a couple of hours, waking up still in blackout, immediately drinking again, and then passing out, waking up still in blackout, drinking, passing out, and just doing, I did that for 8 solid days. When I all of a sudden came out of the blackout, I was on my living room couch. My hair was matted to my head. My face I had done no personal hygiene. I stunk. I hadn't eaten. I was shaking and vibrating. I was so sick, just beyond my comprehension. But worse than that, I turned around and my husband was there. I said, what day is it? And when he told me, I was in such shock, I couldn't even speak. I couldn't, because don't forget, I was supposed to be at work for that week. Basically, I went into a blackout on the Friday before the long weekend and came out of it not the following Monday, but the week after, the Monday after that. So an entire week had gone by with me in blackout, and I'm supposed to be teaching classes at the college. My students are arriving in the classroom, and I'm not there. So, of course, they're going to tell somebody our teacher's not here. I knew in that moment that my life was over. I had destroyed my life. I had no job. My career was now over. And I just laid there and I thought about suicide. I didn't know what to do. But I'm also a very strong person, and I knew, well, there's only one thing to do. I have to face this. And I grabbed my phone. I remember I was shaking so bad I couldn't dial it. And I called my supervisor at work. And up until that moment, I had been the champion liar about my drinking. I didn't lie about anything else, but only my drinking. But of course, when you're drinking all the time, you're lying all the time. And in that moment, for the first time, because when she picked up and she said, "Oh my God, Rebecca, where have you been? We're worried sick about you. What's going on? We've been trying to call, we've been emailing," and she's going on like that. And I hadn't actually thought ahead about what I was going to say. I just phoned her. And so the words just came out of my mouth, and I just said, "It's alcohol." And this woman on the other end, I had been working with her for 16 years, and she knew me quite well. She burst into tears. I was so shocked. I'm like, why is she crying? And she said, "Now we can get you help." And I went, "What? You knew?" She said, "Of course we knew." She said, "In fact, you're on the verge of being called into the dean's office." I'm like, "What?" I thought I was hiding it. I never drank at work. Never. But apparently my illness, being sick all the time. Anyway, oh my goodness, it's hard to tell this story over. She said, "I'm going to call you back in a couple of minutes." And I hung up, and I was just sitting on the couch shaking and crying, and the phone rang, and she called back and she said, "I've got the paperwork from HR and you're now officially on sick leave." And then I just burst into uncontrollable tears. I couldn't believe that I thought I was going to be fired and in so much trouble. Well, just fired. Just like, don't come back and goodbye. Your check's in the mail or whatever. Of course, I know now that I was sick. I was sick. You see, at the time, I thought, oh God, what kind of lie do I have to tell and all this? And when she said I was on sick leave, it was because I was sick. When we drink like we drink, we don't think we're sick. We think we're idiots. We're losers. We're liars. We're weaklings. Those were the words I used for myself, not sick. I didn't think to myself, oh my God, I'm sick, I need help. It was, oh my God, I got to pull it together and not let anybody know I've been drinking because I'm not supposed to be drinking. I'm a college professor. You know what? Like, my husband helped me pack a bag and he took me to the hospital and I was medically detoxed for a week. And then from the detox, I went to a treatment center. And that was the beginning of my sobriety. There's obviously more to that story. And it's been a long journey since the fall of 2018 to today. But that's what got me started. And by the way, it'll be another story for another day, but just so you know, that wasn't the last time I drank. I drank again when I came out of that treatment center. So it was not a clean and smooth recovery for me. I did not go straight from that to sobriety. I had to relapse several times in the first year of my sobriety after getting out of the treatment center, even while back at work. But I never did another binge like that. I never drank day after day after day again. I was binge drinking, right? I was drinking every weekend and then sobering up for a couple of days, a few days to do work. I usually didn't teach on Friday, so I'd drink Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then drink Fridays, right? And in that first year, I drank a couple of times, but I never did a binge. I just, got weak, had a weak moment and ended up having a couple of drinks and then freaking out and throwing it away and starting over. And it was incredibly difficult because I was alone, 100% alone. I didn't have a cell phone yet in 2018. I got my first cell phone in 2020. I just didn't want one. It just wasn't part of my world. I wasn't on social media. I wasn't interested in any of that. I mean, if you'd have told me then that I'd be an online like that I'd have an online personality, I would have went, what are you talking about? I don't even go online. But, back then, so I didn't even have a cell phone. I was completely 100% alone that first year. And that made it very difficult. So I just wanted to share that with you kids because, well, I wanted you to know my story. And that in my book, I say that human transformation is messy. And that's one of the reasons I say that. That's part of my story. My whole story is messy. And yet I stand here today talking to you, a completely transformed person. But it doesn't happen. You go from point A to point B, and then you're transformed. So if you've been relapsing or struggling or drinking and then quitting and failing, blah, 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 you know the story, right? If you've been doing that, I want you to know that that's pretty much the story. That's the journey. I don't know very... In fact, I don't think I know anyone who, in fact, I didn't. I don't. I mean, we don't. Look, let's put it this way. If we could just decide to quit and then we're quit, we wouldn't be alcoholics. What makes us alcoholics is that we can't quit. We keep drinking again. Right? So, of course, it's messy and very disheartening and very discouraging. But it can be done. And you have opportunities for support that were nowhere to be found when I was getting sober. The only thing I knew about was 12-step. That's the only thing I knew about. And I had opinions about that I don't particularly want to share on the show, at least not today. I have no objections, nothing against it. It's fine. But other than that, that was it. So I wanted you to know that you're not alone. That if you were expecting your journey to be clean and nice and smooth, you're normal if it's not. You're normal. But no matter how many times you've tried and failed, the time will come when you make it. And the simplest way for that to happen for you is to get the help you need. Because doing this alone is agonizing. It's agonizing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do on Monday. I'm going to walk you through my first year of sobriety, which was a struggle, and then the turning point and how I discovered the simple path to sobriety that I now teach and I used on myself. And I'm going to share that with you on Monday. Today, your due is to just be gentle and kind with yourself. Remember, you're not alone. And you're not a loser. You're just struggling with alcohol and you have underlying issues that need to be addressed, need to be looked at, and you need help. That's okay. You're normal. And of course, on the weekend, I'd love you to drink some extra water and eat a nice fresh piece of fruit. Let's keep the body nice and plump and juicy, right? And I'll see you Monday and we'll talk about the solution instead of the problem. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.